Welcome to the Maestro Sersea podcast, where English learners worldwide learn and increase fluency in American English. As an English learner who moved to the United States of America more than 40 years ago, I began learning American English with the guidance and encouragement of my teachers. As an American English teacher, with over 30 years of experience teaching English learners in California, USA, I know that learning English is neither easy nor simple. Learning English takes discipline, motivation, and hard work. Let's work together to help you succeed.
Welcome to the Learn American English with Maestro Sersea podcast. For the next few months, our podcasts published on Wednesdays will include excerpts from Maestro Sersea's ebook, Mastering Sentences in American English, a guide for English learners. In addition, during each Wednesday episode, we'll also include a grammar lesson to help you build your American English language skills. Are you ready? Let's begin.
Trimming excess verbiage. As an English teacher with decades of experience, I've learned the power of concise communication. I've witnessed firsthand how verbose, rambling language can confuse and disengage students, while clear, direct phrasing empowers them to grasp complex ideas with ease. In this chapter, I'll share my insights on the art of trimming excess verbiage to craft sentences that are both impactful and effortless to understand. Identify and eliminate redundant phrases. Avoid overusing qualifiers and intensifiers. Trim wordy constructions. Favor active voice over passive. Embrace the power of simple sentences. Identify and eliminate redundant phrases. One of the most common culprits of verbose writing is the inclusion of unnecessary, redundant phrases. These are words or expressions that add little to no additional meaning, yet clutter up our sentences and dilute our message. As an example, consider the phrase past history. The word past is inherently implied in the word history, rendering the phrase redundant. Other examples include ATM machine, PIN number, absolutely essential, and advanced planning. My ESL students often struggle with this, as their native languages may allow for more verbose constructions. I remember one student, Lena, who would write sentences like, "In the past, I went to the grocery store in order to buy some food for my family." I would gently guide her to streamline this to, "I went to the grocery store to buy food for my family." The meaning remains intact, but the writing is tighter and more impactful. The key is to be vigilant in identifying these redundant expressions and ruthlessly eliminating them. Read through your writing with a critical eye and challenge yourself to find ways to convey the same idea using fewer words. This takes practice, but the rewards are immense. Your writing will become sharper, more concise, and ultimately more effective at communicating your intended message. Avoid overusing qualifiers and intensifiers. Another common culprit of verbose writing is the overuse of qualifiers and intensifiers. These are words like very, really, extremely, quite, and absolutely that we use in an attempt to add emphasis or strengthen our language. However, in moderation, they can actually have the opposite effect, diluting the power of our message. Consider the sentence, "The weather today is extremely hot and unbelievably humid." The words extremely and unbelievably are meant to convey the intensity of the weather conditions, but in reality, they just make the sentence feel cluttered and lacking in punch. A more impactful version would be, "The weather today is scorching and humid." My students often fall into the trap of overusing these types of words, thinking that piling on the qualifiers will make their writing more compelling. but I encourage them to trust their descriptive abilities and let the strength of their language do the work. Sometimes, a simple, direct phrase can be far more evocative than a string of modifiers. Of course, there is a time and a place for qualifiers and intensifiers. Used judiciously, they can add valuable emphasis and nuance to our writing. But we must be vigilant in avoiding the temptation to overuse them, lest we end up with bloated, ineffective prose. Trim wordy constructions. In addition to redundant phrases and overused qualifiers, another common issue in verbose writing is the tendency to use overly wordy constructions. These are expressions that could be streamlined into more concise, straightforward phrasing. For example, instead of writing, "It is my opinion that the movie was quite good," we could say, "I thought the movie was good." Or instead of, "Due to the fact that the weather was inclement, we decided to postpone the picnic," we could simply say, "Because the weather was bad, we postponed the picnic." One of the main culprits I see in my students' writing is the use of the phrase "in order to" when a simple "to" would suffice. For instance, "I studied for the test in order to do well" could be trimmed to "I studied for the test to do well." The meaning remains the same, but the writing is tighter and more direct. As with the other techniques, the key is to constantly challenge yourself to find ways to convey the same information using fewer words. It takes practice, but the payoff is immense. Your writing will become cleaner, crisper, and more engaging for your readers. Favor active voice over passive. Another effective way to trim excess verbiage is to favor active voice constructions over passive voice. In active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action. In passive voice, the subject is acted upon. For example, consider these two sentences. Passive: the test was passed by the students. Active: the students passed the test. The passive version requires an additional phrase, "was passed by," to convey the same idea as the active version. It's a more roundabout way of expressing the same information. Passive voice can be useful in certain situations, such as when the actor is unknown or unimportant. But in general, active voice is a more direct, concise way of communicating. It allows you to pack more meaning into fewer words. I find that my students often default to passive voice, perhaps because it feels more formal or academic. But I make a concerted effort to train them to recognize passive constructions and rewrite them in active voice. It's a simple yet powerful tool for tightening up their prose. Embrace the power of simple sentences. Finally, one of the most effective ways to eliminate excess verbiage is to embrace the power of simple, straightforward sentences. While complex, compound sentences certainly have their place, an over-reliance on them can result in bloated, convoluted writing. Sometimes, the most impactful way to communicate an idea is through a short, declarative sentence. Consider this example. Complex sentence. Although the weather was cold and rainy, the hikers decided to venture out on the trail, as they were determined to reach the summit of the mountain before nightfall. Simple sentence. The hikers hiked to the mountain summit. The complex sentence packs a lot of information, but it feels wordy and labored. The simple sentence conveys the core idea in a clean, direct way. I find that my students often feel the need to dress up their writing with ornate, complex constructions. But I encourage them to resist this temptation and instead focus on communicating their ideas as clearly and succinctly as possible. Simple sentences, used judiciously, can be powerful tools for emphasizing key points, creating rhythmic flow, and ensuring that the reader's attention stays firmly on the message. Of course, there is a balance to strike. Relying solely on simple sentences can result in writing that feels choppy and lacks nuance. But by alternating between simple and more complex constructions, you can create a dynamic, engaging style that keeps your readers hooked. In conclusion, the art of concise communication is an essential skill for any writer to master. By identifying and eliminating redundant phrases, avoiding overused qualifiers, trimming wordy constructions, favoring active voice, and embracing the power of simple sentences, you can craft writing that is impactful, direct, and easy for your readers to understand. It's a practice that requires vigilance and persistence, but the payoff is immense. Your words will carry more weight, your ideas will shine through more clearly, and your readers will walk away feeling empowered and enlightened. So embrace the challenge and let your writing shine.
Thank you for being part of today's podcast with Maestro Sersea, where English learners worldwide learn American English. Due to popular demand, we are now sharing educational podcasts 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. In the meanwhile, if you'd like to access a variety of educational offerings, feel free to visit our website at www.sersea.com. Learning American English takes discipline, motivation, and hard work. Keep up the good work.